In studio now on Open Exchange is Farai Mapfinya, who is Head of Equities and Portfolio Manager at JM Busha. Now, we did speak to the Chief Executive of Vodacom a moment ago, Bronwyn Nielsen, interviewing him there. And it just seems the sector is ripe, ready for consolidation of some kind. There needs to be a shaking down of the sector. Is that the right analysis?
Yeah, that's correct. When we look at telecoms, we think there are only about 4 levers that companies can actually play with for them to be more profitable or more efficient. So the first one is on the price, the distribution, the network quality, and then also the customer service. So if you look at those 4 things, I think the one key where all the players can actually work together is actually on the network quality. On the pricing side, we saw what Vodacom did, increasing their prices. I think the prices were quite high, and then with MTR, we think they overshot on the bottom, so they are acting on that. And then on the distribution side, it's all good and well to say we've got the lowest prices and we've got the best network, but if you can't get the Simpex to the end users, then you're not doing a very, very good job. And then also on the customer service, we saw what Cell C went through a few months ago when they dropped the ball on the customer service. So I think it's really more on the network quality, where the players can actually collaborate. We saw what MTN is doing with the selling off of towers. We see now Telkom also in negotiations for outsourcing their radio access network with MTN. So I think it's those kind of things which the sector is saying we actually need to consolidate so that we actually become more profitable. If you look at the sector on a long-term basis, fixed line voice is on a secular decline, and we're now seeing mobile voice also going through the same kind of trend. So I think if there is more upside, then it will probably come on the data side, and for them to actually do that, it will actually be more on the network quality more than the pricing and the distribution. And
you see people doing this much more than you see them doing this.
That's right.
Yeah. That's correct. I think there was a report which came out last week, and this is just on WhatsApp and SMS. At the moment now, globally, WhatsApp has overtaken the number of SMSs being sent on the networks.
And that, of course, is free.
And that's almost free. It's 99% cheaper if you look at that versus using voice. And again, if you look at WhatsApp themselves, they are also trying to delve into the voice market. They actually came out with a trial saying they've got something called WhatsApp Voice, and that will give you voice for between 60 to 80% cheaper than making a normal telephone call.
So Farai, say, as David says, it's this instead of this, and
Yes.
people always talk about the Internet of Things.
Yes.
I was talking to David about it. So what is it? So what is the Internet of Things?
We had to admit to each other that neither of us knows what the Internet of Things is.
Yeah, I think traditionally, telecom operators were more just carriers. So what they will do is they'll give you a pipe and say, okay, make a call, send SMS, send WhatsApp, or whatever it may be. But now it's actually come to a point where content is going to be key. So we've seen what I think Vodacom is now in collaboration with MultiChoice to say instead of just them being a pipe for access to communicate, they actually want to bring you content. So they'll be bringing you, whether it's video on demand. We saw Times Media Group coming with something called VD. So it's now that they've got the pipe to give you that, but they also want to bring you that content straight to your mobile phone or a device.
The other thing that strikes me is you talked about the selling off of towers, the infrastructure. What one doesn't want is them saying it's not our problem, the infrastructure, we've outsourced it. Because again, I say, the number of times that you're on a call, either the signal quality isn't good. Now, it is the call, but we still use it for that, and the call drops.
Yes.
Now, are these guys, surely it should become a competitive advantage to offer a guarantee of no signal dropping, or close to?
I think they will have those in the terms and conditions to the guys that they sell the towers. First of all, we think the management of towers is not really core to telephony services. So they are actually specialist telecom towers managers, if you want to call it that. So in our mind, we think they are better off, they are better in terms of running those towers more efficiently than the telecom operators can. So one hopes that the quality is actually better than it is being managed by the telecom operators themselves. So I think, yeah, it is a concern for them, but at the end of the day, the telecom operators will be accountable to the users for the quality of the network, and they will have those kind of, if you want to call them, hurdles in terms of the contracts that they sign with the the tower operators. Yeah.
Farai, you mentioned video on demand. To what extent is this dependent on broadband? And given the state of broadband in South Africa, Will this not be a big hurdle for us?
A lot, and I think that's why we're seeing now the likes of Vodacom wanting to tie up with Neotel, because fixed data is way much better in terms of quality than mobile data. So if they are to even try to put video on demand, then they're actually going to need a lot of that spectrum. And I know there are discussions, a lot of it is still outstanding in terms of DTT and also the allocation of additional spectrum to the telecom operators. Before that's sorted, I think video on demand will remain a pipe dream for us.
DDT, to another generation of people, means a poison that you use to spray crops. What's DDT again?
Digital terrestrial television.
Right, now, and we're way behind when it comes to this. The world is switching, and we're not going to.
Yeah, I think it's something that's, it's a big concern. I think it started in 2009, so we're probably 6 odd years behind. We did have a discussion with the then Minister of Telecommunications, and they had a target of dual illumination, which meant they will run both analog and digital by June 2015, which is 3 months from now. And we did say, you know, it's highly unlikely that they will meet that target, and we subsequently hear now that it's not going to be happening. The challenges became actually from the beginning, because there are 2 standards of digital terrestrial television. The other one was DVB-T and then DVB-R, which one of them was the dominant one in Japan and then the other one in Brazil. They couldn't agree which one to go with initially. It took about a year and a bit for them to agree. And then when they eventually agreed, now it's actually on conditional access to say how much conditional access do you want to provide the users. So with set-top boxes to say, can they only be utilized in South Africa, or can someone take a set-top box, go across the border and still be able to access digital terrestrial television? That is still outstanding as well. So I think the dual elimination by June 2015 is not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Didn't Kenya roll this out recently, and there were issues? Some broadcasters were switched off, saying they weren't told in time. There were just issues around that. How are we faring? I mean, who's getting it right on the African continent?
I think relative to the other players on the continent, I think Kenya has actually done it better than we have. At least they've got something to test. So now it's actually more on the implementation phase to say, okay, now we've got this. How do we actually control that access? Same thing with broadband. I think they are years ahead in terms of their capacity. They did put high fiber optics. We saw Altec playing there, but unfortunately being over capacity in that market. But in terms of the pipe itself, it is there. So it's actually just a matter of adding users to the network. So they are way ahead of where we are, which is
as in so many other things too. A lot of information there to digest, and it's a sector that clearly is going to change soon. That was Farai Mapfinya, who is Head of Equities and Portfolio Manager at JM Busha.